Alrighty. Beep, boop. Is that one good?
I think no.
Boop.
You definitely didn't take the normal dose today. There's no ways.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Let's start.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about competitive nature. The world we live in is a competitive place. Should we be competitive? Should we be a little bit more passive? And what are the pros and cons to both?
All right, Neil, kick us off with why we should not be competitive. There's no ways. Let's just say that we're not gonna not be competitive. We're gonna go full out.
Well, do we have a choice about being competitive or not? Like, you competed to be who you are. You had to fight those other swimmers to get to the egg first. That was your first win.
Yeah. So you got to win. Winning is all about winning. And I think it came up in our training podcast where we're like, listen, don't push your kids because it could be a bad space to put them into, and you want to make it fun still and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about winning, and you should always have that.
I think you have to realize that for there to be winners, there have to be losers. So there's going to be people who are losers and there's going to be people who are winners. And what are you doing to make sure you're on the right side of that equation? So, I mean, Neil and I were having this discussion a bit earlier where we were talking about like, is competition and being competitive really something that should have acquired a negative stigma in the way that it has? Because it's kind of like, no, don't be too competitive, just have some fun. And Neil was kind of posing the question of, do we actually think this is a good thing? Because life is not like that. Life is not fair. Life is a very competitive place with everything from the job you want to the person you would like to spend your life with. It's all a competition with trying to, I suppose, outperform your siblings for your parents' approval. It's just a never-ending thing. And we're trying to sort of teach children that you mustn't be like that. And then they get to the real world and it is super competitive and they don't really know how to navigate that.
Yeah,
Or they're
man.
too afraid to start because now the competition is scary. They haven't been prepared to actually compete.
Yeah, so I mean, like I was having a conversation with one of the UWC guys, and he was just saying that they've got all these smart students getting qualifications, massive qualifications, spending 10 years, to become qualified, and then they can't like step out into the world and be like, oh, okay, I can actually tackle this job, or I can, like, they've done these beautiful projects, they've been great students, they know all the info that they need to do, but they can't now step out into the real world and go and start their own business or open up their own job or get into a job where they're super confident because they've just been shelled their whole lives. They can do it, but it's because from birth they've just been, it's okay to lose. It's okay to not be first. It's okay to have this. Even though their achievements and things like that are good, they've always kind of like, oh, it's okay just to be that.
I think I agree that it's okay to lose because you learn more from losing. So I think teaching people that losing is not the goal, but that it's okay along the way to achieving the goal is the important thing. And I don't necessarily think that's just for kids. I think that's something I try and remind myself on daily. For example, yesterday, day before yesterday, I had 0 patients, 0, not one person booked. And I'm kind of like, am I doing the right thing? This is a huge failure. And like all of those sort of thoughts creep in. And yes, it is. That day was a massive failure. I agree with that intrusive thought. But what did I learn from that? What am I taking from that? And I think that's what we need to be instilling in children, in our peers, just encouraging each other along the lines of, it is a competitive world. What are we going to do to make sure that we stay competitive in this environment?
Yeah, and I mean, like sometimes hitting that rock bottom is what you need. In business, it's like that now with the gym. It's the middle of winter, no one's training, and in my head the whole time I'm like, why is there no one in the gym? What am I doing wrong? And it's just putting pressure on me to now go and be more competitive in this time of the year, in that specific mind frame. To actually try and go and now work hard. Pull up my socks and just work hard again.
Yeah, but it's the same even in a business. Like, you can't control what's going to happen. So if you have 3 other gyms that open up across the road from you or around the corner or whatever that might be, there's competition on your doorstep. You didn't have that choice. But now it's your goal to sort of go ahead and say, okay, this competition's there to make me better. What can I do today that makes me better than I was yesterday so that my clients enjoy the stay while I'm attracting the other clients in the area to come to me rather than that? So, there's that you got the way you view competition is either going to push you to be better or it's going to make you sink and sort of drown in the process.
But you being a gym owner before this would know like my predicament that I was in a couple of years ago. So I had the gym in High Street. and then Kevin from Forever Strong. I wanted to move out of my lease, but I was tied in for like a period. And he was looking to open up a gym, and his gym functions completely different to what I do, completely different. So I moved next door into the space that I wanted, but I had my lease. So I subleased my lease to him, let him move in right next door to me. And people were like, "Are you crazy? Like, you're letting a gym like move in next door? They're going to take your clients?" Or I'm like, "Guys, I offer a product. This is my product. I know Kevin well. This is his product. We're both in that industry, but we're two completely separate things." And I still did as good as what I was doing. If not, he benefited from some of my clients that didn't like my product, and I benefited from his clients that didn't like his product, and we both won. So at the end of the day, if you just believe in yourself and drive hard, like I say, a gym opens up right next door. Just do what you do best and keep working hard at what you're good at. And you're going to... This wasn't me trying to beat Kevin in that situation. It was just me bettering myself and kind of working hard at that. So, and this can come down to sports or whatever. It's like, I mean, the best thing to do is welcome someone that's good at what you're good at to make you better. You know, like training with Chris at lunchtime now. He's very fit. He's very good at things and is motivating me to train harder. I'm getting fitter. I'm pushing harder. Yes, I'm trying to make sure I always win the workout, but it's the same thing if I was training with you. Like, there's no reason that I didn't enjoy training with you, although you were beating me in 99% of the workouts. Like, I'm still enjoying the training. And when I do take that win, it's like this big thing. And we both kind of like, you know, like enjoy that moment of my success over your success. You probably didn't enjoy one bit of me beating you in 1 or 2 workouts, but like there's still that enjoyment factor, you know.
Well,
one or 2 workouts.
No, I mean, we all have different strengths and weaknesses. So, I mean, like the certain workouts which you would beat me in, but I know if I can get closer to you on something, whether it's handstand push-ups or wall work, which are never going to be my strong piece compared to where you're at with it. Like for me, it's like, cool, I know I'm going to lose, but if I can hang closer than what I was before, that's a win. You know, so like winning happens in different aspects of different things, and there's micro wins along the way to a bigger win. But even in that winning process, you know, or losing process, like Ben said, that's where you're going to learn the most. Cool. This is where I still need to improve. This is what I can do better. Or this is what I need to learn or go and practice to make myself better at that. And that's why, yeah, I mean, you're never going to win every time. So like, and if you don't compete because you're afraid you're not going to win every time, then you're also not, you know, it's about that process of losing, getting better, coming back, and then winning. Like, in the end, it's the process which is going to give you the enjoyment, not just the win at the end. Because if I could offer you 10 easy wins, would you take that? Or would I give you one hard win that you really had to graft for and work really, really hard and put major effort in and like doubt that you were maybe going to be able to do, but you get that victory at the end of the day? You're going to take that over 10 easy wins anytime because the satisfaction you're getting through that process is so much greater.
It's interesting. I wonder if that is true. I mean, obviously, I think we're very similar personality types, but I wonder if there are people who would take the 10 easy wins. I'm sure there are. They would be like, oh, no, that's a no-brainer. I think it's quite interesting because we've seen a massive spike in things like anxiety and depression and mental health, I suppose, overall in the past 5 to 10, maybe even a little bit more, maybe on the sort of 15-year mark now. Do you think that coincides with people having grown up soft without the competitive nature of life, being exposed to life and becoming very anxious because they haven't had the hard wins where they had to overcome something and they were victorious? Now looking forward where they have this challenge, it seems like a massive thing to overcome, whereas the person who's had it fairly hard and had to be very competitive, they've overcome much bigger things. So they see this thing come like, no, not a problem. That they wouldn't even consider becoming anxious about that. Do you think that's got a direct correlation to the rise in anxiety?
I think there's a definite correlation. Like if you go back in the years, like, okay, you had to go to the army and do the service. Like that was a hard thing to go and do. Like you get, at a young man, you get taken away from home, you get put through this sort of like, you know, sequence things, and you get, you know, your character gets tested. You come back, you battle hard, and you're ready for hard things. You've done this thing which was sort of hard. Like there's none of that sort of stuff which pushes people really out of their comfort zone anymore, where they really have to get down to the nitty gritty of who they are, test themselves, come out on the other side. And I think that's why you also get the flip side of these guys. Like that's why I like Ironman and long distance running, and you know, these extreme events have also become more popular over the time. Like, you know, because people are trying to look for these things to actually go out and test themselves and grind through that sort of competition of who am I, what can I do, and find that sort of, self-worth in that, and then come back to the world going, okay, cool. Like,
I had a very interesting patient this week. His main complaint was depression and anxiety. So sort of a 50-year-old man, extremely successful, maybe a Rand billionaire. And he was saying, it was kind of like digging into the sort of lifestyle and why are you depressed? What is upsetting you? And he said, my life is too perfect. I'm depressed because everything's too. I think I need to move. The place I live is too perfect. And I was kind of thinking, you don't want to invalidate someone because this guy is genuinely suffering. And I said to him, do you think perhaps it's not that it's too perfect, it's that you've become too comfortable? Maybe you don't have challenges in your life because you don't need to make money. You don't need to X, Y, Z. He was kind of like badly groomed, hadn't shaved his beard and just like a bit overweight. I kind of said to him, like, maybe you just need something to struggle with and overcome to develop. I'm not invalidating that as depression is like a non-issue, but I think if that's your reason for feeling depressed, I think it's a very clear indication that you need something to suffer about. So, I mean, after like an hour conversation, my prescription was please buy yourself an ice bath. Like, just start there. Just something small that you're overcoming every single day.
So I was going to say, so what's a prescription for us to help people because what we're saying here now is that people are too soft.
So
we need to find a prescription because we're not actually aiming this at the people that have worked hard, because they're already in that boat. They know what they need to do. We are talking about the person that is now either at 20 years old or at 30 years old or up to 50 years old, where they've had things too easy. Dial it back down and find something that is challenging, that's very easy, because they might not want to go train. Like this guy might not want to go exercise.
I think it's very important to differentiate between two streams of thought, because of the stream of thought of what we're saying now. And I do think that prescribing things that are difficult to do on a routine basis are good for those people. But then you'll get other people who work very hard. Let's for example say there's a personal trainer and he's working hard because he's got fully booked, but he's not progressing financially. His girlfriend's left him for a richer dude. Other guys are more buff than him because he doesn't really have time to work out as much as he would like to or do his nutrition. And he's now depressed, and he is working hard. He is suffering. He is putting in the hours, but is it the right direction? Is he being smart about things? So there's kind of two ways of going about this. There's the soft guy who's just doing nothing and he needs to toughen up. Then there's the guys who think they're doing hard things. Whereas those people, it's more kind of like, if you look at someone who's, let's say, got a hot wife and a nice watch and a nice car, and you think, okay, that's what I'm striving for. And then you do all these things and you earn the money and eventually and then you're still bummed. You're like, why don't I feel happy? Because the thing that was hard to get, you thought meant it was valuable. And then you get there and just the reason of it being hard to get didn't actually make it valuable. It was what was meaningful in life to you. So are you putting in hours that are intentional towards the things that are going to fulfill you on a basic level, that you feel happy, you feel like you're contributing to society in a meaningful way. And then I think we can start looking at, yes, these are where you need to work hard and drive your hours into that. Because both ends of the spectrum are going to be depressed. The guy who's doing street sweeping and the guy who's sitting in a castle, they're both depressed for completely different reasons. But it's not necessarily suffering that's going to make them not depressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you have to choose the competition that you want to enter that takes you to where you want to be at the end of the day. It's not just about like, cool, I'm doing hard things. Like, yes, exactly right. You can do hard things and still not be happy.
Yes.
But, there is obviously that flip side of like a life of too much comfort means the smallest pebble is going to knock you over.
100%.
Whereas if you're climbing those mountains every day, you're kicking the pebbles out the way as you go up the mountain and it doesn't even bother you because it's just part of the process. But, it's like you have to make sure if someone comes along and says, hey, I'm doing this Ironman, come do it with me. Like, cool, is that worthwhile for me to go ahead and do it? Does it align with where I want to see myself at this point in time, doing that sort of thing? And you have to make those choices also with where you want to go or where's you like cool, like financially I'm taken care of, like this guy who's, a round billionaire, but he's still unhappy. Why? Because he's too comfortable in that one aspect, but now he needs something else to sort of get him up and earn his sort of self-respect back in terms of like, cool, I did this thing and that sort of makes me feel better. And you have that on the flip side. You have guys who have sort of fairly good careers, but they drive all their satisfaction out of getting into the gym and doing something hard there. Even though they're working hard on this one thing, it doesn't give them the same amount of sort of satisfaction back as maybe, getting that new pull up or whatever they wanted to achieve in the gym, and that's the thing. You have to also find that thing that feeds you.
How do you find that, Neil? Do you think it's kind of like a trial and error thing? Or do you think there's kind of a way that through journaling and introspection or whatever that you can figure out what is it that fulfills me?
I think a lot of it goes back to, even if you look in your childhood, what are the things that gave you joy when you were younger? So if I have to think back, like me and my cousins would watch some sort of movie, and then we doing the karate kicks that we saw outside, or hey, there was this guy doing this training routine, and then we'd build an obstacle course in the back garden and do whatever else, and we'd play around with that, or and there was that sort of things. And that's where if I look back, I've always had sort of this interest in something, cool, if we practice this thing, we'll get better there, which is basically what training is. It's cool, do something, adapt, and sort of get better. So for me, there's always been that aspect. I've always enjoyed sort of that physical side of something, the camaraderie around team activities. I've always been a team sports person. I've never really been a solo sports sort of guy. And that's why I think I've always drawn to, physical things and things, obviously, where there's camaraderie and teamwork and that type of thing.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because that directly correlates to competition. You intentionally sought out things where you were trying to have the best karate kick, so you were practicing harder than your cousin, or again, was the competition or the aspect of encouraged competition that led to healthy habits. It led to fulfillment in life. Yeah. Okay. So I think we all agree competition is maybe a good thing.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be keeping on making sure that you've got competitiveness around you. It doesn't matter where. So you're going to identify what you want to be better at. And is that going to be something that's going to motivate you to be better, to be happier and less anxious and less depressed and things like that? And it's all going to be different for everybody. Just coming back to what Neil said about just being competitive in his own, he went into paddle, started playing that. And then when I see him playing against, let's say, a weaker team, I see that you're not enjoying it. You actually want that pressure. You want to almost lose. You want to have that really tight game because it's just more fun at the end of the day. For him to just be in a game, I see he loses interest, so you want to have that in the areas that you're trying to be better at. So he's trying to play paddle to become better, but he doesn't want to be, winning that game easily. And you want to do that in all the aspects of your life where you find this competitiveness, and that can be in business, it can be in your relationships, and it can be in just your physical training, so maybe have a look at all the different areas and pick something in those areas, so that you're not just doing one thing. You're not just training, or you're not just being better at business, or you're not just being better at your relationships. Try and maybe be competitive in all those environments to try create a better lifestyle, not just one thing, because then you might be losing in something else or not paying attention to something else, and then that could fall through the wayside.
I think a big part of that is trying to figure out who, obviously you're in competition with yourself, but who can you get with you along the way to keep you competitive? It's difficult because, we spoke about having mentors and idols in our previous podcast. It's how do you find someone who's on the same journey who can be that competitive drive? You can't, I don't know, maybe you can just imagine yourself as you versus the world in every aspect of life. But it's much more helpful when you've got someone on the same mission as you. You're not someone being a poople the whole time, but someone genuinely encouraging you and trying to beat you.
Yeah,
hard to find.
For now, I'm hanging out with Chris because it just falls in line. We're training together, and then we can sauna together and chat a bit. So we are breaking some ideas off each other, or just having good conversation. But at the end of the day, that's really meaningful for me right now, because I've got a very competitive nature, and I'm not doing anything sports wise now that's competitive. And when I look back at our memories now, you spoke about look back into your childhood and find these things. When I look back, I need to be doing something competitive at all times to get that reward kind of thing, and I haven't got that at the moment. So for me to not be playing paddle or not be able to go play touch rugby, I've been trying to go play some footy or touch rugby, but it's just too late at night, and to try to find that competitiveness to maybe lose a game or win a game. So I'm trying to find something else at that time too. So it's people that you want to try and link up with you that can help you still get that win, at the end of your day.
Yeah, but there's also, you have to use your mind to push yourself. So, I remember times when I previously was training, and I was doing a class workout, but I knew there was no one else in the class that was going to be able to compete with me. So my goal then is like, cool, well, how far can I win this workout? And then it's like, cool, you maybe doing a set of wall balls. And I would imagine there was someone else next to me who I knew was better than me and be like, okay, they wouldn't put the ball down now. They'd keep on going. And there's different ways in which you can create ways to trick and trap you. And you could be having a competition with someone who doesn't even know about it because you just have them at this pedestal and you feel like you're always putting them ahead and sort of chasing them. I mean, that's like the old Jason Khalifa used to have in his garage, what would Rich be doing when he was competing against Rich Froning? Just as that reminder of like, cool, this is what we're doing. And that's how I'm building my competition. Like Rich Froning's not there, but in his head he's there and he's pushing against him to sort of, beat that competition.
Do you think you need to be careful with establishing competition that you don't default to establishing competition in a field in which you're already proficient? Like everything we've brought up now has always been training. Like we're all good athletes. Like why are we focusing so much on that? Like that's one aspect of our lives we've pretty much got waxed. Maybe it's time to branch out and like look for the thing that you don't want to do. Look for that thing that's like, maybe you suck a little bit. Like for me, understanding finance is just, I don't know why. It's just like not intuitive to me. Like tax and this, and I'm just like, as soon as I feel like I've got it figured out, I'm like, oh, that wasn't right. So that's like a massive focus of mine at the moment. I'm trying to figure out how do I push myself competitively within the business space, if I can call it that. I think business is a silly word, but the finance realm. Because, I mean, physically, yeah, can run, can jump.
Yeah, but again, that comes down to, does it make you happy? And if it makes you miserable, then is it not better outsourced and put your energy to where things are actually rewarding you in a way that actually wants to make you happy? Like, cool, like I suck at this and I have no interest. So it's going to take me twice, 3, 4, 5 times as long to get better at this because I'm struggling to, like, there might be a reward at the end of the day, but like, hey, if I put my energy here, it's immediate feedback that I'm going to get happy and like I can outsource that to someone else and let me where my skills want me to go and I'm actually going to thrive and my progress is going to be 10 times as much because now I have an interest in sort of doing that. Isn't that the whole problem with like a school system that we have today is like, you need to do maths, you need to do that, but this guy's like, I have no interest in those things, but give me this one thing, and I'm going to like hit the moon going because I have an interest in that.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is like, do you want to put your energy into something that's, again, not giving you that feedback that you sort of want to have to do? Like, we all can't be super strong in everything. So you can break up, and I agree with you. Like, we're talking about training because that's where we find an interest and have that sort of passion. Like, we also all entrepreneurs. So there's certain aspects of business which I do have an interest and would be able to talk about and have like, that in, and then there's other things in life, but this is just obviously the aspect which I get the most feedback out of. And I think the thing is everyone should have some sort of training routine or some sort of physical activity. And that sort of physical activity is a great way, if you don't look at it as just a physical thing, but a mental thing in terms of like, I'm competing against myself every day. I am my biggest competition when I look in the mirror. But if I go to training, like, cool, can I do a little bit more? Am I going to just bow down to like, oh, but today, like, I don't feel like it? Or can I push for that little bit, strive for that little bit extra? And that's how I'm building that resilience and that self-confidence with myself of learning to go a little bit harder, or expecting a little bit more out of myself. And then building that self-trust and confidence in myself that I know I've got it in me to do that. If I just go in there and every day I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Like, that's how a mental attitude that can go into the rest of life, and it's like, like physical activity is a great way to just put the mind into something and build that resilience up on a daily basis.
Do you think that it's intelligent to start getting yourself competitive in fields that you are naturally good? Do you think that if, like, let's say I'm listening to this podcast now and I'm like, okay, sweet, I get the point. Like, it is good for me to be competitive. Where do I start? Do you think you should look at where are your strengths?
Yeah, I think start on your strengths first, and then once you've built some confidence on it, then have a look at a weakness and then be like, okay, cool, now I'm going to tackle this project and see if I can become successful at it and try to get joy out of it. Like, I'm not going to go and try to become an artist. Like, I can't paint, I can't do this, but maybe I'll still enjoy doing something in that still same line, but I'm not going to become, like, I'm not going to beat you at like that kind of aspect.
You might beat, I'm pretty bad at it. You might beat me, bro.
Yeah, like I was just
We
trying
should
to
have
think
an
now
art day.
because it just brings me back to someone that's not going to do something physical, but then they should, like, if they are into decor or flowers, something like that, enter into a flower competition, you know,
Agreed.
and go
think
try
it-
win a.
It needs to be measurable.
I don't know.
It doesn't
like,
have to be physical, but it must be measurable.
It could be like, okay, cool. I like dogs. Let me now train my dog and go try enter competition. You know, like let me try and do something that's maybe not physical for me. I mean, we might be talking about someone that's 50 years old, like this guy now that has everything, but he doesn't want to train. Like exercise isn't it. Ice bath is a good one, but let's get him to take his dog. He likes dogs. He can kind of do that. You know, go for some dog training sessions, go into a competition and see where you end up. You know, like try win it.
So
you know,
figure
like
out
try
what
and
you like and then figure out how to make it competitive.
Yeah, because like I like the training side. We all like the training side, but I'm just trying to think of that person that's going to be like, but I'm not training. I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Like, how do I become competitive? You know,
Well, we sports a
wheelchair.
choice today, though.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, there's people online game competitively all the time. Like,
Yeah, we have esports at the school as a registered sport.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's plenty of things for someone who doesn't want to do, but yeah, even along different sides, like every aspect of something, like you said, there's dog shows, there's like flower range, whatever. Like, there's plenty of different ways to be competitive.
Very true.
You know, and some people drive that in bigger aspects. Some people literally make money because it's a game to them and they're playing that competition and that's what they love to do. you
Yeah.
know?
So this brings it back to like, it's got to give you some kind of enjoyment factor. Like you can't go choose something that you're not going to enjoy. Like I don't want to be good at.
Like, I have never enjoyed studying medicine. Like, it's never brought me any stoke ever. But it has got me places in my life. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to, like, I'm not disagreeing with you guys, but I'm trying to, like, put it into practical terms of, like, people need to live. You can't just, like, there are people who will just follow their dream, and I'm very happy for them. But, like, not everyone's Taylor Swift. You know, some of us have to just survive, like grind it out and make a living, provide for people, take responsibility as your role as a man or as a woman or whatever it is that your role is. Like, life comes with responsibilities which might not quite fit in with your passions.
So then still be competitive in that space that you don't want to be in. Like if you are doing a job that you don't want to be doing,
Be
just
the best.
be the best at it
Yeah.
and suck it up and find
I
yourself
agree.
in that space.
That is literally what I aim to do. It's like whatever space I enter, try and be the best in that. But
Look, that is going to be hard if you don't have a passion for
Yeah,
it.
it's hard.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, there's, I mean, like, you know, people look at someone like Tiger Woods and go, oh, he's the best at sort of what he does, one of the top. But like, he thrives in competition. He's like, he loves golf because he doesn't need to play golf anymore. Like, he's done what he needs to do, but he has an injury, he comes back and he does it. Like, there's a certain individual who just wants it more and thrives on that sort of thing, and he has something for it. Like, you're going to really struggle to beat that guy who has passion for something and
agree.
enjoys it if you don't, you know. So
I agree.
that is going to be tough. And yeah, like, not everyone's going to, like, life's not going to afford everyone to have the opportunities to just grind at the thing that they love to do. But I mean, isn't that, again, like, what are we teaching our kids to, like, go after? Like, if you go, okay, why did you get into medicine? Like, was it what you wanted, or was it like, was this like, did you really want to help people? Was it that because you could help people by opening a soup kitchen?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or was it because, hey, well, soup kitchen is not going to get me respect and you know, whatever earned.
Sure.
But hey, if I say I'm a doctor and I'm helping people, like, there's a lot more respect and, you know, everything that comes along with that. You know, so it's like, cool, what are you getting out of that stuff? And like, I heard this phrase the other day, like, do you know what you want to want? Like, are you wanting something because that's what you feel society's telling you that you must want? Or are you wanting that thing because you actually want it? And like, very people, I think, don't know what that is. You know, so maybe spending a little bit of time asking yourself those questions and then sort of going, cool, hey, you know, I can't go change the last 20 or 30 years, but maybe this is something that I do want. And those things can change in time, you know, and you don't really know until maybe certain other doors have opened or others have closed on you. So
It's fair.
I think to maybe just end it off to try and, because we try to link it to a pillar that we've kind of spoken about, and like it sums up now that we've got to link this to the pillar of like self-reflection. You know, what are you doing for yourself? You know, take a moment once a week, go sit somewhere where it's super quiet and where nothing's just like, and just write a few things down and find that find that competitive thing that you want to do and make it fit into what you want to do, you know.
I think it's super powerful. I think journaling is great. Just to like have a record of I was unhappy for this amount of time. Let's say it was 10 weeks of this. I was so unhappy. And then you can look at that time of your life. What was I doing at that time? Because you have got my self-reflections of genuine unhappiness. And then you can kind of understand what you're doing in that time or what you're maybe not doing in that time and say, okay, well, that's why. It's easy identified. Rather than 10 years down the line, you end up in my office saying I'm depressed.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm depressed.
So I think like I'm doing it for my current client now on the 7 Pillars program, and they are still a week on holiday now. So their only goal this week is to actually take a break, not even do anything, not even think about their journey when they start in a week's time on their 6 months little goal. And their own like 1 week plan now is to take a break and really think about like what their goals are for the next 6 months.
Cool.
Like, write it down. Use the 5 pillars or the 7 pillars now. Write down all those little areas and then be like, okay, cool. I can actually be competitive in that aspect.
Yes.
You know, and then go try to do something, whether it's a painting, flowers, or something training wise. Go and do it. You know, like put yourself into the categories and then go and set yourself a goal. You know, like and comment maybe on this podcast and we can set something up for you. You know?
Very cool.